Heya, cryptozens. Tonight's stories. LayerZero Labs raises $135 million. Ted Cruz introduces anti-CBDC legislation. Burnt finances no-code NFT marketplace. It's 10 p.m. Pacific, and the date is March 30th, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm your host, Nick. The cover model for this podcast is Tex, and together we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. We bring you news stories on familiar topics. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. So yesterday we talked about the Ronin Bridge hack, largest DeFi hack. Sky Mavis is the company behind Axie Infinity, and they have promised to pay back the victims after suffering a $625 million hack. Alexsander Larsen is the chief operating officer at Sky Mavis. He said, quote, "We are fully committed to reimbursing our players as soon as possible. We're still working on a solution. That is an ongoing discussion." Almost a third of the amount stolen came from the treasury. Right now, that means for one of the world's biggest play-to-earn games, none of the Ethereum or USDC on the Ronin blockchain has any value at present. There have been discussions. One idea was to sell equity to raise funds, or liquidate funds from their $1.6 billion treasury. But that wouldn't leave much left over, though, would it? So if they're going to make their players whole, it's going to take a huge chunk of their money, especially if they don't get it back, which it doesn't look too likely. Now, before we get into tonight's stories, let's take a quick look at the markets. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $2.14 trillion. That's up 0.5% in 24. The top 5 cryptos by market cap are Bitcoin up 10.59%, Ethereum up 12.54%, Tether, Binance Coin up 2.05%, and USDC. The global NFT market cap is up over $10.14 billion. That's up 6.26%. The top 5 NFT collections on OpenSea by sales volume are World of Women Galaxy, Azuki, Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, Kiwami Genesis. Now keep in mind, some of these collections have very volatile prices, so do your own research. LayerZero Labs raises $135 million. They're what's called an omni-chain developer. So here's what LayerZero Labs does. They work on protocols that allow omni-chain decentralized apps. So if you've heard of dApps, these are dApps that work across chains. Well, LayerZero Labs raised over $135 million in their latest funding round. They achieved a $1 billion valuation, and those funds are earmarked for the LayerZero's protocol development. This round was led by a number of the venturati: Sequoia Capital, FTX Ventures, Andreessen Horowitz. Also participating were Coinbase Ventures, PayPal Ventures, Tiger Global, and Uniswap Labs, among others. So their plan is to bring together gaming, NFTs, marketplaces, media apps, and others so they can operate across chains. They say multi-chain realms. Now, as far as use cases go, you're looking at DeFi applications. It means you could trade, borrow, lend, stake across multiple blockchains. You could also have GameFi applications and media players on a blockchain built for high throughput transactions. On the other hand, you could have NFT and crypto marketplaces, and they would be on blockchains with a greater on-chain liquidity and reliability. So LayerZero's beta was launched, and then that was followed by the launch of Stargate. Stargate is a cross-chain liquidity transfer protocol. 10 days after the launch of Stargate, LayerZero announced it had already exceeded $3.4 billion in assets secured. Now, that's with over $264 million in transfers over LayerZero. From here, their plan is to do the same thing, but with non-Ethereum based blockchains. Might be Solana, might be Terra. Ryan Zarek is the CTO and founder of LayerZero Labs. He said, quote, users will interact with omni-chain dApps that exist on multiple blockchains, which will seamlessly communicate over layer 0 without the user even realizing it. Ramnik Arora is an investor at FTX Ventures. They said, quote, layer 0 allows smart contracts on one chain to seamlessly and securely leverage the network of another chain, increasing the value of the entire blockchain ecosystem. The team is a rare combination of vision and technical execution. Ted Cruz introduces anti-CBDC legislation. Now, he calls it a bill that would keep the U.S. off, quote, an insidious path akin to China's. So, what the Texas senator introduced into the U.S. Senate was something of a companion piece. It was written to go with Minnesota Representative Tom Emmer's bill. This bill prohibits the Federal Reserve from issuing central bank digital currency directly to individuals. And that's really the big part of it. So, Representative Emmer introduced his bill in the House on January 18th. What Cruz does here is speed things up, because while Emmer leads the fight in the House, Cruz can be doing the same thing in the Senate, potentially cutting down the time required in debate. Emmer is the co-chair of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus. He has concerns with CBDCs. His concern, in part, is that forcing customers to open accounts with the Federal Reserve Bank isn't great for privacy. He said it could, quote, requiring users to open up an account at the Fed to access a U.S. CBDC would put the Fed on an insidious path akin to China's digital authoritarianism. Now, as he rightly points out, considering the consumer's financial information would create huge security issues. Can you imagine the honeypot of a CBDC, so it's centralized, the honeypot with such a cache of valuable financial information? Huge temptation for bad actors. And given the government's history with securing records, I'm not confident that they could adequately secure these. That said, the Fed isn't even authorized to create or open accounts on behalf of individuals. They released their own paper in January. It was called Money and Payments, the U.S. Dollar in the Age of Digital Transformation. We talked about it on this show. They went through all the disclosure issues at length, and they point out that there is a balancing act involved in weighing the need to stop criminal activity with the need for individual privacy. It doesn't even sound like they're interested in the Federal Reserve or even the federal government getting involved. The paper said the best way to do this is, quote, the private sector would offer accounts or digital wallets to facilitate the management of CBDC holdings and payments. And that means intermediation, which makes sense. With intermediation, you get a CBDC, but you don't have to go through the process of changing the Fed's authorities and the way it works and the things it's allowed to do. The private sector would become responsible for identity verification, which they already are with banks and things like that, so this isn't new ground here. The paper said, quote, the Federal Reserve does not intend to proceed with the issuance of a CBDC without clear support from the executive branch and from Congress, ideally in the form of a specific authorizing law. Now, I'm going to close this out with a couple of quotes from some relevant people. Emmer said, quote, I'm glad Senator Cruz has agreed to offer a Senate companion to my legislation limiting the Fed's authorities. The Fed must only craft a CBDC framework that's open, permissionless, and private, meaning any digital dollar must be accessible to all, must transact on a blockchain that's transparent to all, and maintain the privacy elements of cash. Anything less puts Americans on the road to CCP-style financial authoritarianism. For his part, Senator Cruz said, quote, the federal government has the ability to encourage and nurture innovation in the cryptocurrency space or to completely devastate it. This bill goes a long way to making sure big government doesn't attempt to centralize and control cryptocurrency so that it can continue to thrive and prosper in the United States. We should be empowering entrepreneurs, enabling information, and increasing individual freedom, not stifling it. BERT finances no-code NFT marketplace. Burnt Finance is a Solana-based NFT marketplace. They released their Burnt Finance Launchpad. And that Launchpad is really a no-code platform that lets users create, mint, and sell generative NFTs. Apparently, all a user has to do is upload their layers, traits, and rarities, and you've got yourself an NFT collection. Okay, so you have to create the layers and traits, but still, no code. Oh, and no transaction fees. I'm actually really liking this. It's a fully decentralized NFT marketplace. You can be your own OpenSea. Burnt Finances said that they are, quote, building the decentralized future for Web3 assets. So a single artist or collective of artists could theoretically run their own NFT marketplace of their own work. Because right now it's kind of a pain in the butt, right? Setting this kind of thing up. You have to petition for approval for your collection, and they'll only list your collection after your application has been approved, if it gets approved. On top of that, there's gas fees. I'm literally waiting for gas fees to come down to buy a couple of pieces that I like. As much as I do like them, I'm not going to pay 2 or 3 times the price of the piece in transaction fees. And those things aren't necessarily easy for an artist new to the platform. Smart contracts, wallet integrations, these are things you have to understand before you can even start creating your collections. Burnt Finance wants to solve all of these problems and make generative NFTs hassle-free. Burnt Banksy is the founder. They wrote, quote, Burnt Finance Launchpad will bridge the gap between the vast possibilities of NFTs and the aspirations of creators which have been frequently impeded by complex technical requirements and high costs. As it stands, centralized entities maintain much of the power regarding who and what can be created in the NFT ecosystem. Burnt Finance is breaking this paradigm with its Launchpad product. As a way of marking this special occasion, Burnt Finance and Project Serum are partnering up. Project Serum is a decentralized exchange and liquidity infrastructure for the Solana DeFi. They're going to release several Serum generative NFT collections. You can access Launchpad with a Web3 wallet, but it has to be one of a specific kind. You'll need either Phantom, Soulflare, or a Math wallet. And that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so tell me what you think. Is Axie Infinity going to make it? That's a whole lot of their money that they're going to have to shell out to pay their players out. I don't know if they can pull it off. I mean, I admire what they're doing. I think it's just going to be very difficult for them to recover. But you tell me what you think. Send me an email at crypto.overnighter@gmail.com. That's crypto.overnighter@gmail.com. Oh, and give Crypto in 5 Minutes a listen. We're up to 38 educational podcasts. 5 minutes to explain one concept in crypto. And until next time, may peace